Now, here's a question for you to ponder. Why are millennial children leaving the evangelical church? Many statistics prove this to be true. For example, 69% of evangelical children or teens leave the church after high school. 80% of evangelicals between the ages of 19 and 29 will leave the church in the next 10 years. 35% of these people will eventually return to the church after a number of years, but typically what will happen is they'll come back after being away from the Lord, maybe getting into grievous sin, and so the church will have all manner of pastoral issues to try to bring these children back to where they need to be. Perhaps they've had children who've not been brought up in the church, and so there's all kinds of problems that can develop from that. There's an annual net loss in percentage of evangelicals in the American demographic due to members bleeding away from the church from a lack of conversions and then also population growth. Now, why is this happening? Well, let me give you several possible reasons for it. Well, perhaps family dysfunction and hypocrisy. No doubt there is an issue there. There's a lot of breakdown of the family, and young people growing up see maybe the hypocrisy of their parents and they say, no thanks, I don't want to go there. Perhaps it's a neglect also of regular church attendance. I mean, a child growing up in a family that periodically or sporadically goes to church, maybe the young people begin to say, I don't think this is that important to my parents. If it's not important to them, why should it be important to me? Or perhaps there's a lack of consistency in family devotional times. Obviously, a father needs to lead the family. Sometimes there's the family breakdown, the father's not there, or they just neglect that very important responsibility. Oftentimes, too, it can be the seduction of the world. The Apostle Paul said, bad friends corrupt good morals. We live in a very secular culture, and when these young people go off to college, very often they're not prepared, they're not equipped to deal with the professors of the day, many of whom are atheists or agnostics, and they just undermine these young people as they go into college, undermines their faith. So these are all reasons why this could be happening. But here's another question. But what if these millennial young people have grown up in a model Christian home, where it was just a really great place for them to live, where there was no hypocrisy? What if he attended Sunday morning and Sunday evening worship, Sunday school, family devotions, homeschool, Christian school, and by the time he's 20 years old, he's probably listened to 2,000 sermons? What if he was baptized? What if he was catechized and still wanders away from the faith? What if he's never caved in to peer pressure? What if he was really well taught in a Christian worldview? What if he was sexually pure throughout high school and college and even into his early 20s, and then he still falls away from the faith? Why? What is that? What's happening? Well, you need to understand this, my friends, that you can do all of these things. Parents, you can have your children in church, you can baptize them, you can catechize them, you can have them in a Christian school, on and on and on it goes. But none of this will actually take unless or until your child has regenerating grace. Ezekiel 36 says, I'll sprinkle clean water on you and you will be clean. I'll cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all your idols. Moreover, I'll put a new spirit within you. I'll take out the heart of stone and I'll replace it with a heart of flesh. I'll put my spirit within you and cause you to walk after my commandments so that you may obey my ordinances. Jesus, in speaking with Nicodemus, said, Nicodemus, unless you are born again, you will not see the kingdom of heaven. In other words, you must be born from above. And Nicodemus obviously didn't understand that. Here's the vital, critical thing that you must understand. We must preach to our children and to people out in the community. They must be born again. You see, we're born with what theologians call the imputation of Adam's sin. Because Adam sinned, as our covenant head, we sinned in him. So we're born with this rebellious nature. We're born with a rebellious heart, what I like to call a cobra heart. A cobra, you bit by one of these in Africa or India, where I go quite a bit, you're dead in 30 minutes if you don't have the antidote. And so the heart must be changed. So what must you do? You need to pray. Just like the Syrophoenician woman prayed in Mark chapter 7, when she understood her daughter was demon-possessed, she poured out her heart, she bowed down to Jesus and asked for His mercy. So you pray, God, give my children the heart of Jesus. Take out the rebellious cobra heart. Then you must repeatedly tell your children of their need for Christ, that they're born with that rebellious heart and they need the heart of Jesus. Constantly bring that to their attention, and then urge them repeatedly until they give evidence of calling upon the name of the Lord. Everyone who calls the name of the Lord will be saved. So pray for them, urge them to repent and believe, and cause them to call on the name of the Lord. That's what we need to do. That's what the millennial children are missing in this day. They must be born again. So that's the message you must preach in this world.